Alafiani, greetings. It is the Apeta B Ilosha Ola Omi Akalatunde, and this is Got to Be Oshun Television. I know I've been away for a while, taking a brief hiatus. We have moved from an apartment into a house. We're still in the process of unpacking. I had to take a quick trip to Tennessee, and now we're back. And ready to roll and ready to get started. Wanted to do a couple of shout outs before I got into the video. The first one is for my earrings. These were created in Jamaica by a sister friend, Camila Abdul, and I will put her information on the video. But she's out of Jamaica. She does make very beautiful jewelry, as you can see. A little closer so you can see how nice that is. It looks like something that would be made out of thread or yarn, but it's made out of metal, brass in particular. So it's really, really nice. Also, today is December 6th. On December 9th, here in Atlanta at the Ominala Griot Museum, Kwame Ross, who is a well-known cultural choreographer, will be having an Orisha dance class at 11:30 in the morning. It's going to be $7. Of course, wear white, wear the traditional wide skirt if you have it. If not, white lapas and white tops. Men and women are welcome to come. Also, afterwards, the UNIOV, the United Nation of Ifa, Orisha, and Vodun, will be hosting a Bembe Fayemaja Olokun. So, of course, for this particular event, you will wear blue and you will come and bring offerings to those deities. So, just wanted to shout out those events and shout out those people. Please, if you're in the Atlanta area, you have to keep an eye out online because there is something going on all the time, literally all the time. So just wanted to make sure that those things were well known for this weekend. That'll be going on this weekend. Um, and there's lots of Saturday African dance classes and things of that nature too that go on just every week and every weekend here in Atlanta. But topic for today, I think about this a lot, and I'm kind of surprised that I haven't done a video on it, although I've probably touched up on it in some of my other videos. But I wanted to go ahead and jump into it today so that this would be the topic for this video by itself. So even if I've touched on it, I don't think I've covered it fully. So I wanted to go ahead and cover it today. And that is this, what would I call it? Social construct, I suppose, of the good girl, you know, or the good woman, and what it means to be a good girl, what it means to be a good woman, and how we as women are taught to seek this particular thing. And what I find, or what I have found for myself and for the women that are close to me and the women that I love, is that it puts a stricture around your authenticity, your realness. You do not feel comfortable being your full self because you are busy working to be a good girl. And I put a status up on Facebook just because it was running through my mind. And the question that I asked was, how many women have died on the altar of being the good girl? How many women have had their full self crucified upon the cross of being the good girl? You're being virtuous. You are trying to be that one whose price is far above rubies. It comes from uh, the boundaries of this way of thinking of womanhood are based in those patriarchal traditions that came out of the Kurgan Mountains, with the patriarchy itself during ancient times. And it is this belief that being a good woman means that you are this cloistered type of person and you don't let all of yourself show in any way. So you have this so-called modest way of dressing, which in actuality is Middle Eastern cultural dress, which is very good and very appropriate if one is in the Middle East. It is appropriate to cover everything and to cover your face and to cover your hair because the Middle East is traditionally a place that is very sandy. So if you're in the Middle East, it makes a lot of sense to be completely covered like that. If you are in the tropical rainforests of West Africa, which is where my ancestors come from, it does not make sense to cover your entire body in that way, which is why if you visit West Africa, even now, you will find women to be mostly uncovered, and men. You will find human beings to be walking around mostly uncovered. That's what's happening in tropical West Africa because that's what makes sense because it is hot and it is somewhat humid. So it makes sense in the dry desert climate of the Middle East to be completely covered. It does not make sense to be that way in most other places in the world where humanity originated, where humankind originated. But in this idea of the good girl, we have that thought process that most of her should be covered. And when we speak about most of her being covered, we're not just talking about her body, are we? Most of her mind should be covered because she shouldn't be too outspoken. She shouldn't have too much to say. She should basically be seen and not heard. Most of her wants and desires should be covered, shouldn't they? Good girls are not supposed to ask for a lot. Good girls are supposed to be very content with whatever it is that you give them, should you choose to give them anything. But you don't have to give a good girl anything, You could just, she is going to make do with whatever she has and with whatever little scraps you choose to throw her way. What else should be covered? Definitely her sexuality and her desires should be completely covered. Because a good girl, she makes sure that she is at the beck and call of the desires of her man. And she herself does not act upon her own desires. And most of the time she pretends that they don't exist. So most of the time she spends a lot of time pretending that these desires are not there. So what you see when you're dealing with a woman who is trying hard to be this good girl, trying hard to be this good woman or this virtuous woman, is a husk of a person. You're not seeing what is really inside this person. You're not dealing with what is really inside. You're dealing with an individual that is trying her best to be something that she's been told that she has to be worthy of love, to be worthy of respect, to be worthy of positive attention from males. If you are not a good girl, then you put yourself in the position where you are asking for negative attention from males, right? If you are not a good girl, then you don't deserve the respect of males, correct? If you are not a good girl, anything that happens to you, you deserve it. This is why when we see these big celebrity or these very, very widely publicized in the media cases of women being abused in any kind of way, sexually, physically, emotionally, mentally, we always ask, well, what was she doing? Because in our society, if she's not a good girl, she deserves to get beat up. She deserves to be raped. She deserved to be called out of her name, as we call it in our tradition. This is where you put yourself when you decide to walk outside of those particular strictures of being the good girl. Now, what does that say about society? What does it mean if there's a society in which if you don't follow this particular order, it is okay to mistreat you? If you don't follow this particular order, then it is okay to hurt you. It is okay to harm you. And we've been taught to believe that that doesn't say anything about society. That says something about the woman. Is that true? If you were a person, just a person anywhere, and you fell across a doctrine that said it's okay to beat up people who are like this, does that ring true with you? Does that resonate with you? It's okay to sexually violate people who are like this. Does that ring true with you? Does that resonate with you? So then why do we as women accept that for ourselves? Why is that okay for us? Why is it okay for people to treat us any kind of way if we're not dressed in a particular way, or if we don't walk a particular way, or if we don't act a particular way? Hello? This is Shay. I'm well. How are you? Okay, we are back. Important call that I had to take about a program that I'm trying to enroll my teenagers in. But as we were saying at the end of that part of the video, what type of society is it that says it's okay to abuse this segment of the society if they act like this? If they don't follow our rules, it's okay to abuse them. It goes back to the topic that I have spoken on before extensively, domination and control. It goes back to that. When you are being dominated and when you are being controlled, you are being abused. That's what that means. And individuals and societies and religions that seek domination and control are abusive individuals and abusive societies and abusive religions. And that is just the truth of the matter. Unfortunately, most of us have been so brainwashed by Judeo Christianity, which is in actuality a reworking of Greco Roman ideas. The ideas of the madmen of Greco-Roman society, the madmen who were the leaders and philosophers and teachers of Greco-Roman society. These ideas have been reworked into what we now see to be Judeo-Christianity as well as Islam and these more modern Hebraic movements or Hebrew movements. Those are just Greco-Roman ideas being reworked. So when we deal with those, what we're dealing with is the mindset of someone who is an abuser, which is also the broken mindset of someone who was abused very young in their lives, someone who was controlled, someone who was violated, someone who was mistreated. This person did not ever heal from those things, so they evolved into an abuser. They grew up to be an abuser, and they created this entire society and these entire ways of thought based upon this abuse, because no normal thinking person says, if this person doesn't dress this way, then it's okay to sexually violate them. If this person doesn't dress this way, then they are not worthy of respect. That's not normal. That's not a normal way of thinking. Unfortunately, because we are raised and socialized in a society that is based upon these insane ideas, we then try our best to embrace those ideas as righteous. Well, that's a righteous way of thinking. That's a righteous way of being. Is it? It is? Have we looked up the definition of righteous? Do we understand what it means to be righteous? Acting in a way that is right? And it's right to abuse someone and mistreat someone because of the amount of clothes that they have or do not have on? And due to their gender, because of what they say or don't say or choose not to say, is ignorant to accept that. Is ignorant to accept that. And I'm placing the blame on the acceptance of it with women. That's who I'm placing the blame on. Because if, as women, we said, this is an unacceptable way of thinking, and anyone who thinks this way, I'm not going to take seriously. Anyone who thinks this way cannot be in my sphere. If we did that, then fewer people would be off thinking that way. We have to accept responsibility for our part in it as well. Also, because we were socialized in this society, then what happens? We meet somebody nice. We're trying to bring a nice person into our lives, and we automatically fall into that role, right? We automatically fall into the role of trying to appear to be this Greco-Roman, modern day Judeo-Christian good woman, right? We're falling into it. We're not even fighting it. We're afraid to show our true selves. We're afraid to show our full selves. And most importantly, we're afraid to live as our full selves. We're afraid to speak as our full selves. What are we depriving society of when we are living in it as only part of ourselves? In my tradition, we have an ancient scripture called an Odu, which says that your Ori, your head, your destiny touches one. and then it touches hundreds, and then it touches thousands, and then it touches millions. Your ori, your destiny eventually touches the lives of everyone else on the planet. You are that influential. You are that important. So when you choose to half live your life, not only are you completely and totally shortchanging yourself and resigning yourself to misery, but you're not giving everyone else what they need to set their destiny in order. You're not setting a courageous, beautiful, powerful example for those around you. As a matter of fact, you're setting the example of just the opposite. There is, and I'm going to end with this, there is an etam, what Europeans would call a story in our tradition of Parrot, Odidire. And Parrot was the favorite wife of the king. And because of this, the other wives were jealous of her. So they put medicine, they put herbs on her stool that caused her bottom to turn red. Her bottom broke out in a red rash. And of course, this is a story coming from an African tradition. So we know that in our tradition, the woman's bottom holds a lot of power. So there's a lot of worth in that, because this is the seat. This is where your mother carries you when you are a baby, and this is one of the seats of power. So her bottom turned red. Her bottom broke out in this red rash, and she was so embarrassed. And she went to her husband. She spoke with him about it, and he said, "I declare that you are glorious in my sight." And it was, still beautiful to him. It didn't bother him. It wasn't a problem for him. So she still had an issue with it. So she was trying to work out her issues with this red bottom. And around this time came the annual festival. And the king's wives always dance for the annual festival. And so all of the other wives, in order to embarrass her further, said that they wanted to dance the festival in the nude. And Parrot said she did not want to dance it in the nude, but she didn't want anyone to see this red bottom that she had. Go ahead. And so they said, okay. And they all, yeah, it's fine. And so they all decided they all chose the cloth that they would wear, because it's tradition that family members wear the same cloth in West Africa for any important gathering, any festival, anything of that nature. So they chose the cloth that they would wear. They created their outfits, and they prepared to dance for this annual festival. So while they were dancing, then the drummers, because in West Africa we have a talking drum, and it speaks, it tells you what to do. So in the middle of this dance, then the drummers began to play the in the nude beat, in the nude, in the nude, in the nude, in the nude, and all the other wives began to strip off their clothing because they were going to dance in the nude. And Parrot was ashamed and afraid at first. Ask Ashabi. And so she decides, to go ahead and dance in the nude. She takes her clothes off too and proceeds to complete the dance in the nude. And when she revealed her red bottom, all of the other people who were gathered there were awed, and they found it to be beautiful and powerful and wonderful. And one of the dignitaries turned to the king and said, "How have you been hiding this from us?" That's fine. "This is what we need to put our destinies in order." Can you please go and do it downstairs? What am I doing? But what am I doing? Okay, so can you please go downstairs so that I can have quiet to make my video? Okay. So they said, how have you hidden this from us? This is what we need to put our destinies in order. And from then until now, the initiates in our tradition use the red tail feathers of the African gray parrot. This is part of the magic, part of the awo of womanhood, is the necessity of being your full self, the necessity of embracing all of those parts of yourself and not being ashamed to dance in the nude. Not being ashamed to have all of those parts of yourself seen, and understanding on every level that this is what the world requires to be in order. This is what we need to set our destinies in order as human beings. So, on that note, I'm going to end this one. Peace, blessings, ecstasy, abundance, and bliss to all of my loyal viewers. And I wish the blessings of Oshun upon all of those who are wishing positivity to me, and the lessons of life upon those who are wishing me otherwise. I can be reached for lectures and for consultations, divinations, readings at www.osheturainstitute.com, OSHETURA Institute.com. I also have two books on the tradition of the Yoruba people. One is called Ona Agbani, which is the ancient path, and the other is called Shotito, or Be Truth. Those are both all available as well at www.osheturainstitute.com. I look forward to building more with you here, to being more with you here on YouTube and creating more videos, and I will be doing that regularly at this point. Give thanks. Peace.